Score early this NFL season, Major League Baseball season, NBA season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season, the Major League Baseball season, the NBA season, and hockey season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL and an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
All right, let's get to Kevin Stefanski. I mean, there's always a lot of talk about the coach after every game. When the Browns lose, a lot of people want him fired every game. And to be fair to our fans, that happens in probably every other market as well, unless it's a team that consistently wins. And even then, I've heard people say crazy stuff in New York. People wanted to move on from Mariano Rivera. I mean, all kinds of nutty stuff. But there's really, I mean, you gave the one nitpick there if you want, but there's really nothing you could say about Kevin Stefanski. The bottom line is the Browns, through the halfway point of the season, have had the worst quarterback play in the league, and they're 5-3. I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah. I actually thought last week's game was better than this. I thought last week's game, I know 3rd and 3 at the end, whatever.
Yeah.
But for the totality of the game,
you guys were your totalities.
I thought his plan against Seattle and his game calls against Seattle was his best of the season. But yesterday, I mean, to handle Deshaun the way he did, to ease him back in, the short throws early, let him build a little bit of rhythm and confidence. Then he ripped the one on the 3rd possession and really started to roll a little bit more in the second half. I think Kevin's hitting a stride as a play caller. I know everyone thinks, Bull, that you and I are the apologists of Kevin.
Right.
No, it's not the case. We've been critical of him
plenty of times
when we thought it was warranted. But I think he's really starting to hit his stride. And the longer you do something, the better you get at it. And the Browns have just never had a coach, unfortunately, who has now in year 4. But you learn what works and what doesn't. You learn your own tendencies. You learn about yourself, where your weaknesses are, where your blind spots are. And I think he's in a really good spot right now as coach.
What is his initial contract? Was 5 years?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember.
It could have been more than that.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
It's going to be interesting. You know, we've talked a lot over the years. Fire him. I don't want to get into a conversation about it now. G may lose his mind here, although you can't. You know, you're not hating Stefanski today. You're loving him today because he did a good job. But
it was 5 years.
It was 5 years. Thank you. But what I would say is, let's say the next couple. Let's say they even split against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and they're 6-4.
I think that's the most realistic.
Right. Let's say they do that, 6-4. We may not talk about firing Kevin Stefanski. We may need to start having a conversation about extending Kevin.
Well, that's going to come up at the end of the year because it's when you have a year left on your deal is when you start having the lame duck conversation and you extend a guy or not.
Yeah.
So that's going to come up after the season for sure. If he's still here, we got a long way to go. But if we get to January and he's still here, that's going to be a discussion point.
I'm just thinking, G, and I don't know if you want to go there yet, but like I have been covering the Browns professionally since 2011, right? So this is for me my 13th season covering the Browns in Cleveland media, and I don't think I've ever once done a topic. Should the Browns extend their coach?
Yeah,
I don't think I've done that in 13 years that I can recall.
I think the only time I remember hearing that was during the Brian Hoyer situation. When Mike Pettin was here, they were 7-4. They went down to Cincinnati, beat Cincinnati badly in prime time, and they're just like the Browns were in first place, the latest that they have been in years. And I think people were just like, oh, like extend him, like let's get this done. And
I don't know. I don't think I was at that point, but I want to see more. But
like it was.
I did say the Browns were going to make the playoffs when they went. I remember when they beat the Bengals. I was like, Browns are going to the playoffs.
Everybody
and they lost 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Then they started playing Johnny,
and it all went to hell.
Then Gordon came back, and then the wheels fell off in the Atlanta game, and it was just downhill. Yeah. But I'll say this: I was talking about this on the barbershop a couple weeks ago. I said, look, there's 2 ways this thing can go. You could get to a point, and I say 6 games, right? And he was, what were we after 6 games? What was it? We was 4-3?
4-2.
We were
Yeah,
4-2. 4-2 after 6 games. So, and that was without the quarterback. So, when you get past that and you get to the end of the season, you do have an opportunity to say, look, I mean, I went through the gauntlet right here. Like, I had a quarterback. I missed my best player, Nick Chubb. I've lost my left tackle. I've lost my right tackle.
Yep.
What else do you want? And he's now in a position where, they could offer him an extension. Because here's the thing. I don't want anybody to get this twisted. We understand, or I understand very well what it means if you say he's fired. I get it. That's start over. No matter what guys want to say, that's a start over, bro. Because every new additional coach that comes in here, he wants his own quarterback. He wants his own scheme. He wants his system.
Well, he ain't getting a new quarterback. That quarterback is here.
Well, see, that's the thing. And then, how many people want to deal with that?
Yeah.
How many good coaches want that to be that on their resume? They don't. So here's the thing. I don't want to have the repercussions of saying that this whole thing, this whole culmination of what we went through over the last 5 to 6 years is going to end in him getting fired, because that means everything we did to be 1-31 with Sashi Brown and all that other stuff, tear it down to the stubs. We telling ourselves that didn't work and it was all for naught. I ain't trying to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of long-term conversations off of that.
This is his best season. I think this is better than 2020 and the 11-5 because we've talked about it before. I've had players tell me multiple times, over and over and over, there was nobody in the building in 2020. It was just us. It was football all the time. There was no nonsense. There was no typical Browns crap going on.
Right.
It was football. And for him to navigate this with the Deshaun injury, with the injuries, that you mentioned, you've lost both tackles and Nick Chubb, and your shoulders quarterback was Hamburger Helper for half the season, and you still have them in position to make the playoffs. You still have them at 5-3. A lot of the help, obviously, defensively. You're relying heavily on the defense, and that's
but
fine.
You're still having to deal with Jimmy Haslam too.
Absolutely.
And if he, I'll say this. Look, I'm honest, bro. You say what you want, Duke and D-Jerk. I don't know. I think they're building a new UCSS.
What is happening?
This is crazy.
That sounds like someone's drilling.
Somebody's like trying to drill into the studio right now.
If somebody falls through the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I'll say this: if the Browns win the division, he's going to win Coach of the Year again.
Well, he's getting an extension for sure.
Think about it. If he wins the division against a Baltimore team,
the division,
he's in the running. He's
because
for sure in the
running. Look at the division. Every is team. 2 games over 500.
Every team would make the playoffs if the playoffs started.
That's crazy.
Although if the Jets win tonight, they hop ahead of the Bengals for now.
And the Bills are out.
Bills are
as
out,
of now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just asked the chat a question, and before I tell you the answers to today's results, I'm gonna ask the same question to you guys, and I want you to predict what the chat would have said last week. So based on this conversation, I put in the chat, what's a more likely outcome at the end of this season? Fire Stefanski or extend Stefanski? Before I tell you today's results, what do you think the poll results would have been? We have 300 answers in the chat already. If we had asked this exact same question 1 week ago today, following that 3rd and 3
it also depends how honest people are being.
Right.
Because
Emotional.
the question is what's most likely to happen. So it's what you think Jimmy Haslam's going to do as opposed to what you would do personally. But I would say that last week it would have been 60-40 Fire.
I think even
crazy.
higher. I think even higher.
70.
Yeah.
And I'll
65,
say
70.
60-40 extension right now. You guys saying 70?
Jason said 70-30 Fire last week.
65-70 last week.
G,
Fire.
what do you think?
I'm Duke and knee-jerk 70.
So I asked that question right now. We have 350 votes. I'm going to refresh one more time to get the final number. 352 votes. 90% extend Stefanski.
Wow.
90.
Wow.
And if they lose to the Ravens, it's going to be 30%.
Yeah.
G. Bush, how many super chats last week did we get saying fire Stefanski? He should not be the head coach of this football team.
We spent half the show talking about, we reading super chats because they was like, get him up out of here.
But you know what's interesting about that is, so I wrote last week on The Athletic, this is his best season. And I was expecting that reaction of, you're an idiot, I can't, and whatever, I don't care. But actually, a number of the comments were finally, someone supporting him, and we see it, and it's a vocal minority that hates. I was amazed at how many people were in support of him. So it's almost like it's the audience. The audience changes depending on the platform that you're on, I think.
Definitely.
You know, it's interesting. Athletic people seem to love Kevin, and UCSS viewers hate him. Although if it's
not based on
90%
that
today,
poll, it varies. And
but the comments in the chat are two different entities too.
Yeah, that's true.
The comments under the page are grossly different from the chat that happens during the show.
And then, there's going to be a lot of interesting discussions this offseason, especially, depending on how the rest of the season goes.
And to answer Mike's question, Jimmy Haslam extended Hugh, gave him an extension.
Which was insane.
But and that's why, like, Jimmy doesn't want to keep blowing this up. Like,
No,
he's
that's right.
desperate to get something that works. He was so desperate to get something that works, he gave Hugh an extension, a 1-year extension.
Yeah.
What was first? 1-15 or 0-16?
1-15.
All right, after 1-15, I think
We were
it
like,
was.
remember, because Hugh said, if we get any worse, I'll jump in the lake or
Yeah,
whatever. I
yeah,
don't know
that's
exactly
right.
what
That's
he said.
crazy.
I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look at the timing of it. But they gave Hugh a year extension during all of that because they were so desperate for stability to make it work. So I think, without question, it's more likely that he's extended than fired.
Yeah. Wasn't the only win over that 2-year stretch against the Chargers and a missed field goal or something?
Late December game.
It was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was-
December 20.
that was crazy.
It was a home game.
RG3 started that game.
That's amazing.
Now he's on his studio desk.
Go ahead.
That is a great
man.
transition to a little special teams talk, which we have not spent probably enough time in. I almost said it.
Before
Totality.
Before you go to special teams, let
Yeah.
me just, before I forget, because I forgot to
You're
write
good.
this down, I want to say something else. We talked about Brady Quinn's comments about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else saw this. Willie Colon, the former Steeler offensive lineman, was on somewhere.
Is that thing you sent last night?
Yeah.
I
And
think that was old.
Oh, was that old?
I don't think that was.
Anthony says it's 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like all the comments on that were 3
Even
weeks
still,
ago.
that was another player taking shots at a guy for saying he should play even though he's injured.
Yeah. He's hurt. Like, the injury's legit.
I
He's
can't believe how many
legitimately
guys
hurt.
have just. It's ridiculous.
Do you know? Here's the thing. This is the era we live in. We live in a place where people validate their own opinion on the same level as experts. Now, because the internet
this
is
guy's
out,
a former player.
well, here's the thing. He could
Yeah.
be an idiot too.
That's true.
Like, there's a lot of former players.
I've seen a lot of idiots in locker rooms.
Yeah, like
yeah,
I'm like,
that's true.
like these people now hold themselves so high that their opinions, and then people are oblivious to real facts. You ask somebody a real fact, you'd be like, is the sky blue today? They'd be like, well, I don't know. Like, there's people that believe the earth is still flat, bull.
Yeah, that's true.
And so
Kyrie Irving.
if you got a bunch of people who think that, you just got to leave them alone and say whatever they going to think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see that a lot when people talk about injuries and he's not injured. There's literally, I think 60% of the people that when they comment on Deshaun Watson, they keep saying, there's no tear in there. There's no tear. There's nothing. He doesn't have anything. There's no I'm like, bro, like, what are you? Listen, if you got a character that's just a letter, if you got a picture of somebody else like a dog or a Happy Meal, or if you just don't, no, you don't count. Your voice does not count. It doesn't. You got to stop paying attention to cats like that. And I need to do it. I try to do a
agree
job,
with you, but
better job.
when I hear former players take shots, it's always surprising to me.
So how do you? So think about
Even
it.
though
Like,
it's a couple weeks old, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still
applies.
crazy.
if the industry is flooded with everybody that wants to be somebody who talks about sports for a living, how do you get noticed and recognized? Do you come out
Say
with
stupid
you
stuff,
say
I don't know.
dumb things instead of being like no one cares about your statistics?
Yeah.
That you got to say something to be hot.
Yeah, Willie Colon on the Craig Carton show.
Hang on, one more thing before we're just kind of skipping around, but before you get to special teams, I thought of something on Stefanski that Mike, I think I saw the graphic. Did you put it in our text? Do you have that on Brown's record after losses?
I have the numbers for you.
Under Kevin?
I could tell you real quick, but
This is nuts. I
it
didn't
is
know
fast,
this.
and we're gonna talk about this later in the week because.
Oh, sorry.
But it's worth mentioning real quick. Not according, I did the math myself. I double checked. But CBS showed a graphic yesterday that said Kevin Stefanski is now 19-7 in games following a loss, which is interesting because he's 10-18 in his career in games following a win. And we're going to dive into whether that's just a weird trend, an anomaly. He's about a career 500 coach. He's 31-27 for his career. So when you add it up, it makes sense that He
Win
wins,
one,
and he
lose
loses,
one,
then he
win
wins
one,
and
lose
loses.
one. Yep.
But he is 19-7. That's the third best record in NFL history in games following a loss. But he's 10-18 in games following a win. So
they
we're gonna
handled
add to that
failure well,
category.
but they don't handle success well.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and we're going to dive into that deeper. And I want to get a little more context to it before we make it a topic.
All right.
What we do have context on is how well the Browns special teams has played as of late. Prochet in the punt return game added a nice element we hadn't seen. Bjorquez might be the best punter in football. And even D-Hop, who missed a field goal, is one of the best
all
kickers
of this.
right now.
Look, I want to start with Bjorquez. Bajorquez, sorry. Because Bajorquez was slandered for years
As a holder.
Yep. Being blamed. And I kept saying, well, yeah, that one year that kicker was a rookie and blah, 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 blah. And there were people, including people on this show, slandering and trying to blame the Cade York struggles on Bjorquez. And what we've seen this year...
Bajorquez.
I keep screwing up the guy's name. I'm usually really good at pronouncing names. I'm going to just avoid his name the rest of the
Corey.
Just call him Corey B.
Corey B. What we've seen this year is the kicker's been great.
Yep.
And so he did not deserve any of that slander. But as a punter, he is a weapon for the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
That you rarely talk about. But he's done a great job.
The only thing that I don't think he's really good at is being able to spin it at the goal line. All of his kicks bounce into the end zone. Have you noticed that? He doesn't have a lot. I mean, if they fair catch him, whatever. But if he tries to drop it inside the 10 or inside the 5, a lot of kickers can just kill it right there. And I think it's changed the game because it used to be, for returners, put your heels on the 15 and anything over your head, let it go.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore.
No.
Guys are calling for fair catches now inside the 10 or they're fielding punts. I'm like, when did this change? Well, punters have gotten so good at spinning it
back.
and being able to kill it at the goal line. And his, for whatever reason, seemed to trickle into the end zone. That is the only thing you can say about him. And if anything, his leg is too good because he's outkicked the coverage a couple times. But he can bomb it. He's got
he never
leg.
kicks it short.
No,
never.
He can flip the field. Like if you're on the 15, if he's kicking from the 15 or 20, he can kick it to the 15 or 20.
Did he kick one? Didn't he land one inside of 20?
Well, it rolled. He had a 75-yard punt yesterday.
Yeah, 73, I think.
And that's when they almost got the safety because Thornhill and the blitz.
I just mean if you're kicking it from like the 45.
Oh,
right.
And you need to kill it. You need to spin it and kill it inside the 5.
So
a lot of his go to the end zone.
If he can get it angled to get it out of bounds, he's fine. But yes, you're right. That's fair. But if the worst part of my punter is that it goes into the end zone, I can live with that. Like there's a lot of punters that every couple of punts they kick it short.
Yeah.
You know, he never has that problem. He's done great on the holding. In terms of D-Hop, had his first miss yesterday.
Here it comes. I told you it's November. I'm
He
kidding.
did make his first
kidding.
two.
I'm
No,
kidding.
I know.
It was 62 and no wind yesterday. It was perfect.
He's immune. Listen, he has diplomatic immunity.
That was a good time to miss it because it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Everyone was like, oh, well.
Now listen, these next 2 weeks,
better not miss any big
Better not
kicks.
miss him. Better not miss him.
And
we're pulling you off the Ring of Honor.
James Prochet, I believe is his name.
I keep trying to call him Procise. Why?
Right. There used to be a Procise.
I did. I don't know who he is, but I keep messing this man's name.
Is it James Prochet?
It is Prochet.
Looks like they found something here, guys. Because I thought he did a great job returning punts, and his numbers were good, and he had one that was called, or two that were called back on penalties.
It was one game. I want to see it again, but yes, yesterday he was great.
Yeah.
If he can get 9 yards per return, that is huge because basically it was just catch it and fall down.
Right.
With DPJ up until then.
With a lot of teams have a returner where you just like don't screw it up.
Just don't muff it. Yeah.
But yesterday, for one day, I know it was a bad team. I don't know I don't know if their special teams are bad or anything. But for one day, he looked like a legit weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a wide receiver with all the injuries. You wonder if he's going to do anything in the.
Little bit of breaking news. Kevin Stefanski said Jed Wills is going to the IR with an MCL injury, but it is not season-ending.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's the injury? An MCL? What did?
They just said with an MCL injury.
Yeah, I mean.
And a Marquise Goodwin in concussion protocol.
Right.
I had heard, Zach and I did it on the podcast. A couple guys in the locker room said yesterday MCL. Zach said that's probably a month. So I don't think it's like a torn surgery type thing, or he would be out for the year.
Yeah. So like he sprained it or something.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but
a sprain is a slight tear.
If he's on not a full tear, that would require surgery.
Right.
But if he's going on IR, Zach was right. That's a month, so he's out a month.
I mean,
minimum.
Offensive linemen can play with some stuff that other players can't, obviously. But,
it looked worse in the moment. It looked worse.
Yeah,
when you see an air cast and you're carted off, you fear.
Well, you saw him howl. I mean, like on TV, it looked like he was howling in pain.
Yeah, and he was screaming.
Yeah.
And so you fear a broken leg, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So all in all, it's probably about a
the
best
fact
case
that
scenario.
that they can get him back at some point this season. I mean, we got the Browns have 9 games to go, so even if he misses 4 or 5 games, get him back in December or some point in December. And all right, now Jay, listen, that's life.
You could live with James Hudson for
There's
a couple
football, there's injuries.
You can live with James Hudson for a couple games, but I'd rather it not be the 2 opponents that they've got coming up.
We'll see.
So.
Again, I'm not. I don't think Jed Wills was very good. I know he's a little better these last couple of games. I thought he was not having a particularly good game. I know injuries. He wasn't 100% healthy.
He's playing on one leg, and I know if you're on the field, you're
gotta
expected
play.
to produce.
And so,
but he was playing on one leg even before he was carted off.
Listen, if James Hudson can't get it done, then they got to go find someone else, whether it's on the practice squad or on the street. I mean, it's not easy. It's not an ideal situation.
No.
But the Browns have overcome a lot in terms of injuries on the offense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to Prochet, though, real quick. There was a little burst he had in the punt return game. That I know DPJ, we had talked enough about the fact that he wasn't necessarily the most dangerous punt returner, but there's something about kind of the energy and the transfer of energy from a 3-and-out, which the Browns got, I think, 8 of them yesterday, into a punt, and then you're working with short fields. And when all 3 of those complementary facets are working together, the Browns are really damn tough to beat.
I mean, a lot of punt returning, beyond the athletic ability of the return, is the confidence, right? Like, you're standing – I've never done it, obviously, but I think it's pretty easy to imagine if you're standing there waiting to catch a punt and all these guys are flying down the field at you.
Running as fast as they can to hit you as hard as they can.
You got to have nerves of steel to be decent at that job.
Think about it. If you're say, for instance, you are a center fielder and you need to catch a baseball. But there's like 5 or 6 dudes chasing you, ready to punch you in the face when you beat them.
Exactly.
And then you got to fight the elements. The ball is moving, and when they kick it so high that the ball actually goes above the lights, and then you got to track the football while you're doing all this stuff.
Right.
It's crazy.
And the second you catch it, somebody might smash you.
Crazy.
Right. So it's tough, and he, for one game, looked like he was playing with a lot of confidence.
Yes.
Right, so, and that's DPJ never played that position with confidence.
Well, listen, for him, his wife is telling him when he gets his lunch pail, hey, you might want to do something, dog.
Yeah, right.
Like they gave you they got rid of, that's the quickest name switch and number flip I've ever seen. They sold that 11 on that jersey so fast. They didn't even give it time to let us pour out no liquor for DPJ.
No.
We couldn't pour nothing out for the homies. And he already out of here. His wife was like, listen, you might want to do something because they need a returner. And that's been the worst kept secret in Cleveland. Hey, now let's see if you can do it when it counts in Baltimore. Is that a 1 o'clock game?
I believe so.
Yeah, they didn't flex it. I'm surprised, but they did not flex it.
It is 1 o'clock on Fox.
Yeah, okay. I don't like. For me, I like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock games, unless it's just Monday Night Football or something. But I like my 1 o'clock.
I don't like night games.
I loved it last night, being able to watch the Bengals last night.
Right, just chill and relax, not have to
worry about other games.
I like a 1 o'clock win for the Browns is the best thing ever.
Night games, I ain't leaving the press box.
I hate when the Bengals and Browns play at the same time. It sucks for me. Not that anybody else cares. By the way, James Prochet was a 6th-round pick by the Ravens in the 2000 draft and had been with the Ravens.
2000? No.
Oh, sorry. 2020. Big difference. 2020, and he spent 3 years with the Ravens. I think before the Browns signed him to the practice squad last week, I think he was out of the league. I think he got cut by somebody, whatever. But and he has played some wide receiver. I don't know, how much he's done here, but anyway.
Hey.